What is it about exploration that intrigues us? The craving to see something new, the adventure of getting there? That same drive pushes us beyond our limits and has led us to new heights. Rock climbing is a sport that feeds off of all of those drives. It calls on climbers to have a sense of adventure and to push themselves. Rock climbing recently rose in popularity, especially within younger generations. With its roots in national parks and its founders being known as nothing more than a ragtag band of hippies, it's finally taking hold in modern culture. Workout groups are noticing its benefits, pairing it with sports like Krav Maga, and recognizing it as a true sport by putting it in the Olympics. There are 3 main points to keep in mind as you're starting out as a climber. First, it's overwhelming. Second, it's exhausting. And third, you have to commit if you really want to see results. Rock climbing is a challenge, but so many people see this as an opportunity to see things differently, and ultimately, they want to take that challenge. The first point you need to consider is that rock climbing is extremely overwhelming. Just like any sport, there's a lot to take in. But rock climbing has a lot of differences from the sports that we're used to or that we studied in school. It's important to educate yourself before you step into a gym. One of the first things I noticed in the rock gym is that people watch you. When climbers aren't climbing, they sit down near the walls and study the route that they're working on. This, of course, leads to them watching what you're doing. Don't feel uncomfortable. This is actually more of a study. Climbers want to see how you are climbing a route. They may be able to pick up something that would help them. Another important thing to note is the rules. All gyms require you to watch some sort of safety video, go through a training, or at the very least sign a waiver. But the reality is that gyms have rules on etiquette as well, many of which aren't mentioned to new climbers and are more of an unspoken agreement. These may not be posted, but they are just as important as the safety tips that you learned. Some of these etiquette rules include being aware of where you are climbing and who's climbing around you. Once you finish a climb, move back to allow others to try routes on that wall. If someone is climbing, wait until they finish before you start. And you may even see climbers cheering others on when they notice they've been struggling with a route or if they're working on one that's hard. There is a correct way to fall from the wall. This should be covered in your safety briefing, but it's also considered part of the etiquette. When you fall from a route or you want to jump down from a bouldering wall, you need to make sure to keep your knees, hips, and neck safe. When you fall, land on your feet and roll backwards, allowing your back to absorb some of the fall and your arms to stay in front of you. When you're choosing what you want to climb, it's important to know that there are designated routes with different levels associated to them. Most gyms have levels anywhere from a V0 to V10 on the bouldering walls, or a 5-5 and up on belay walls. Many gyms will color coordinate their holds or use tape to help guide you up the wall. Ask staff at your gym about their system. Another important point is that rock climbing, just like any sport, is exhausting. You will be using different muscles than you're used to. You'll be using your core for balance, your arms to pull you up and suspend you from your next hold, your feet to push you up on a small ledge, and your fingers and hand grip to hold your weight on the edge of a rock. Your hands are doing a lot of work in rock climbing. Much of the work your hands haven't experienced before. Your first couple of times climbing, you will lose skin on your hands and you may even cause them to bleed. Eventually, you'll build up some calluses, but occasionally those rip off as well. It's important to know that if you want to rock climb frequently, you'll need to have the rough hands of a climber. When going to the gym, it's important to wear clothes that you are comfortable moving around in. Since climbing involves lots of reaching, you will need to stretch before, during, and after your climbs. You will occasionally fall from the wall, so you don't want to worry about your clothes when plopping onto the mat from a 10-foot fall. Just like your clothes, you want your feet to be comfortable when climbing. Of course, climbing shoes themselves aren't comfortable to walk around in, but you can choose what works best for you. Most climbers don't wear socks inside their climbing shoes, but if you would prefer to wear socks, then wear them. At the end of the day, it's about your comfort in the sport. Rock climbing has multiple options to choose from. In the gym, there's auto belays and top ropes, which allow for a slightly easier climb, while bouldering offers a more technical climb. Many new climbers try bouldering because the walls are smaller. They quickly realize that the challenge isn't in ascending, it's the technique of getting up the wall. In the end, whatever you choose, you can find a challenge. The final thing to remember is commitment. In order to improve as a climber, you need to make a solid commitment to the sport. It's always best to create a schedule of which days work best for you. Consider the times that the gym isn't busy and the days that normally aren't busy for you. Climbing can take a couple of hours, so make sure that your schedule allows for this. It is suggested that you climb at least 3 times a week. This allows for your hands to heal and your muscles to rest in between the times that you climb. Try separating your climbing days with alternate exercises like cardio and strength training, and then focus on your climbs the days that you are at the gym. Climbing involves a lot of strength and muscle. As I mentioned before, a lot of muscle that your body isn't used to using. This, of course, can only be built up in climbing or with climbing-type exercises. If you're serious about climbing, look into some regimens or things to do to help you improve. It's important to know that even though climbing takes muscle, it does have a lot to do with technique. As a new climber, it's okay to be afraid or to not know how to do something. The best part of climbing is the community. The people who climb are very supportive and want to help. Ask around when you're stuck. Other climbers can offer techniques that you may not have thought of, or at least show you a different approach to a climb that you've been struggling with. As in any sport, you need the right equipment. After getting some time on the wall, you should buy your own shoes. Not only will they be yours, but they'll be better than the rentals at your gym. You should be using chalk since day one, but you should buy your own chalk bag and chalk. This way you can choose the one that works for you. Not to mention they come in a lot of cool patterns. At the end of the day, rock climbing is a tough sport that needs dedication. But more importantly, it's a sport that inspires creativity, promotes problem solving, and pushes the climber to go beyond their initial expectations. I encourage you to try rock climbing at a gym near you and push yourself to new heights.